Hey everyone. In the world of data, some of the smallest choices can have the biggest consequences. And today, we're going to talk about one of those, a simple little key that can literally make or break your entire data warehouse.
So let's just dive right in with a big question. What is the number one mistake, the one thing that can doom a data warehouse before it even really gets going? We're talking about those mistakes that cause these huge cascading failures that are just a nightmare to fix later on. Well, the answer, it all comes down to how you identify your data. The huge mistake so many people make is just relying on the natural business keys they get from their source systems. And let me tell you, that's not a solid foundation. It's a ticking time bomb.
Okay, so to really get why this is such a huge deal, we first need to understand the world a data warehouse lives in. And spoiler alert, it's chaotic.
I mean, really think about it. A data warehouse isn't some clean, perfect, controlled lab. No way. It's more like a chaotic central station, pulling in data from all these different operational systems you don't own and you definitely don't control. The sales department decides to change all their product codes, HR gets a brand new system with totally different IDs. Well, your warehouse has to just sit there and take it. It has to handle all of that chaos. So how in the world do you bring some order to all that mess? Well, you build a stable core right in the middle of that storm. And you do it by introducing a simple but incredibly powerful hero, the surrogate key.
All right, let's break down the real difference here. On one side, you've got the business key. This is the ID that comes from the real world, right? A product SKU, an employee ID, something that has actual business meaning. But here's the catch. It's volatile. It can change. Then, on the other side, you have the surrogate key. This is your warehouse's own internal ID. It's completely meaningless to the business, but that's its superpower. It's just a simple number whose only job is to be unique and to never, ever change.
So here's the key takeaway. A surrogate key is just a simple, meaningless number. Usually it's just an integer that counts up, 1, 2, 3, 4. And the data warehouse uses it to reliably and permanently identify something, a person, a product, whatever. And that lack of business meaning, that's actually its greatest strength.
Okay, enough theory. Let's put this key to the test. Let's see how it actually acts like a shield against some of the most common data disasters you're going to face. And this first one, it happens all the time. Imagine the sales team decides, hey, let's update our entire product coding system to make it more descriptive. For the business, that's great. It's a smart administrative change. But for a data warehouse that was built using those old product codes as its key, it's an absolute catastrophe.
See, without a surrogate key, your biggest table, your fact table, the one with all your sales transactions, maybe millions or even billions of rows, is tied directly to your products using that SKU. That same SKU the business just decided to change. Yeah, you can already see where this is going, right?
So when that SKU changes, you now have the lovely job of finding and updating every single one of those rows. We're talking about a massive update job across millions, maybe tens of millions of records. It's a performance nightmare. Your whole system could grind to a halt.
Okay, but now, watch this. With a surrogate key, the whole game changes. The giant fact table is joined on something like product key 118, our stable, boring, unchanging integer. That messy, volatile business SKU, it's now safely tucked away in the much, much smaller product dimension table. So what happens when the business key changes now? You don't touch that massive fact table. Not at all. You just update one single row in that tiny dimension table. It's like performing delicate surgery instead of using a sledgehammer. All right, here's another classic headache. Let's say your company grows, maybe you acquire another company. You've got 2 different office sites, and each one has its own employee system. So, what happens when both systems have an employee ID 501? Because they're not the same person. It's John in New York and Mary in San Francisco.
Now, if you tried to use that business key as your main ID, the system would freak out. The second record for employee 501 would fail to load because of a key collision. But with a surrogate key, no problem at all. John from source A gets his own unique key, say employee key 1001, and Mary from source B gets her own unique key 1002. They can both live happily ever after in the same table, and we still know what their original business keys and sources were.
But here's where it gets really cool. Surrogate keys don't just prevent problems. They actually unlock one of the most powerful things a data warehouse is supposed to do, which is perfectly tracking history over time.
I mean, that's really the core mission, isn't it? Your operational systems, they only care about what's true right now.
A data warehouse, on the other hand, has to know how things looked yesterday, last month, 10 years ago, and for that, surrogate keys are absolutely essential. This whole technique is called a slowly changing dimension type 2, or SCD type 2. It's the gold standard for this stuff. So think about Jane. When she moves, we don't just go in and overwrite her old address. No. We create a brand new version of Jane in our customer table, and we give her a brand new surrogate key. So now, all the sales that happened when she was in New York are forever tied to her old key, 501. And all the new sales from now on will be tied to her new key, 942. You get a perfect, crystal clear history of her journey. And this is only possible because we can just spin up a new surrogate key whenever we need to.
And finally, let's talk about the big one. The thing everyone cares about, especially when the datasets get huge: speed. The performance payoff here is just massive.
And the why is actually pretty simple. Databases are just built from the ground up to be incredibly good at joining on simple integers. When you're trying to connect a billion-row table to another table, doing it with a small number is just unbelievably faster and more efficient than trying to do it with a long, complicated text string or a GUID. And we're not talking a small difference here. It is a huge, game-changing performance gain.
So look, if you only remember one thing from all of this, let it be this. Surrogate keys are not an optional extra. They're not a nice-to-have. They are fundamental to a successful, professional data warehouse design.
Because when you put it all together, you see what they really give you. They decouple you from that source system chaos. They let you integrate anything from anywhere. They're the only real way to track history properly, and they make everything run so much faster. That stability, that flexibility, that performance, those are the hallmarks of a data warehouse that's built to last.
And that really leaves us with a final thought to chew on. The choice to just use a business key, it might seem easier today. It feels more direct. But as we've just seen, it's planting the seeds for immense, painful complexity down the road. By making the right foundational choice now, by using surrogate keys, you're not just building something that works today, you're building a system that's resilient enough to last for decades.